Has it started? Let's see. Okay, here we are. So recording has started. Hello, my dear friend Marcia. Thank you so much for being here and for co-creating an episode of SCCaR Sacred Cracks, Crevices and Rubies with me. I'm so excited for this conversation and just extend so much gratitude to you for saying yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here talking with you. It's always just so easy and such a pleasure. So thank you for having me. The moment you asked me, I thought, that could be really fabulous. Let's have a conversation. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So in terms of giving just context, SCCaR stands for Sacred Cracks, Crevices and Rubies, and it really is, as one friend put it, little topics, no, little conversations about big topics. So it really is this journey from the sacred cracks and crevices in our life, the hard stuff, if you will, and the rubies we derive from them or are deriving from them, the lessons and the beauty and the gems that really make us who we are in this present moment. So we'll start with some grounding questions to kind of get to know you a little bit. First and foremost, how are you entering this conversation? How are you, mind, body, soul, in this very moment that will never happen again? How are you?
I feel as though a weight has been lifted because I just finished a large construction project where I live. And so I feel lighter, a bit lighter about that because it was about 3.5 weeks of
Mhm.
project management. And so literally it ended a few hours ago. And so I feel lighter and relieved about that. And I was really looking forward to our conversation. So I was glad when the contractors all got out of here. And I was like, okay, let me sit for half hour and prepare myself to sit with Gurlane. And so I'm sitting here with relief and
Mhm.
expectation for just a great conversation. It's always so easy to talk with you. So just happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Same here. Always very easy between the two of us since we met. Share with me, if you would, anything in the past week that caused wonderment and awe or just elicited one of your big, beautiful, light-filled sunshine smiles, I like to say. Was there anything this week that just caused you to stop and really pay attention and something that warmed your heart?
Mm-hmm. My parents. My parents warm my heart. Along with my siblings, we are caretakers for my mom and dad who are in their late 80s, and my aunt Brenda who's in her mid 80s. And caretaking is one of the hardest jobs I think you can love because it is difficult. But my parents and my aunt are teaching me patience. They're teaching me endurance. They're teaching me kindness. They're teaching me how to show up when change is happening all around you. I think it's hard to realize one day I'm not as young as I used to be. And maybe my body is not doing what it used to do. Maybe my mind is not doing what it used to do. And to be a caretaker, witnessing change like that, it's difficult, but it's also sacred. And so my parents, like if I'm in the moment with them, because I spend like maybe 3 days out of 7 with them, if I'm in each moment with them, there are lessons. There are lessons that I get. And I'm just really grateful. Every day I start new. If there was angst and frustration and fatigue at the end of the previous day, the next time I go back, it's like, let's start fresh. Let's see what this day will bring, see what lessons I can learn, see what grace I can give or will be given to me. And so my father has a wicked sense of humor and he says the most outrageous things. So
Mhm.
my father puts a smile on my face with just some of the things that come out of his mouth. My mother is extremely strong woman of faith. She does not miss reading her Bible and doing her daily devotionals. That is just part of her daily routine. And I think a lot of how I show up in the world is a blend of my mother and my grandmother. And a lot of the practices that I do on a regular basis comes from what I saw, what I saw growing up, what I see daily with my mother, what I saw with my grandmother, tools that really help me to navigate the world and navigate the work that I do. And so, if you're asking me what made me smile this week, it really is my parents. Um, it's my Aunt Brenda wanting to make a quick run, dressed in her sweatsuit, but also her pajama top. I'm like, Auntie, what are you doing? So she has a very funny sense of humor, my Aunt Brenda, and she really is a style maven when she's going to church and when she's going out and about. But if she's just making a quick run, I have to check her. I'm like, okay, Auntie Brenda, I have to make sure you're going out appropriately, because she just has this very quirky way of dressing sometimes. And there was an outfit this week I just had to just put my foot down and say, absolutely, absolutely not. So I got a lot of I get a lot of smiles from the seniors uh in my life. And I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. So there are the smiles, and there's fatigue, and sometimes there's overwhelm. I don't want to paint a sugar-coated picture of caring for elders, but there's such a blessing in it, and that's what I choose to hold on to day in and day out.
Yes, thank you so very much. One of the topics that we discussed when thinking about co-creating this episode of SCAR was caretaking and
Mm,
caregiving, because
yeah.
I also am a caretaker for my mother, and we've talked about this topic many, many times.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
interestingly enough, I had a conversation with a friend, also of West Indian background, like the two of us, and she related to me a story of a friend whose brother said to her, if you weren't taking care of our mother, she would be in a nursing home. So two siblings, one sibling had the notion of, no, the parent belongs with the child, belongs with a family member. And then the sibling had this belief system, no, I'm not going to alter my life. She's going into a nursing home. And so I ask you, where do you think this sense of beautiful responsibility, maybe that's not the right word, I'm not accessing the a different word, but the sense of, where does your commitment and your devotion to taking care of your parents in a very hands-on way, where does that derive from? Why is it that the notion of a nursing home would not even cross your mind? I'm curious to know that. Is that part of your origin story? You talked about modeling your grandmother and your mother and the way that you walk in the world. So as it relates to caretaking, where does that come from, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. um I'm from Guyana. And when you're from South America, there are certain things that are just ingrained in you, and family is one of those things. And you take care of family, and you take care of family at home. And if you have to uproot your life, you uproot your life, and you just find and make a way. You engage your siblings, you engage um, aunts and uncles. The larger family works together to take care. My grandmother has a younger sister who's still alive, our Auntie Lane, and she's 99 years old, and she's being taken care of at home with family. It's sort of like what we've seen and what we've modeled. And it was only when we came to this country that we started to get this sense of, oh, there are these things called nursing homes,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
people
yeah.
send their elders there. But that was not the culture. That was not what I've come from. And
Mhm.
I think as people age, there is a certain wisdom that comes with that. Even if they need more of your help, there's still beauty in getting older and witnessing that. And
Yes.
that's what I hold on to. And I have visited friends in nursing homes, people I know, acquaintances, and they're just not, they don't have the warmth of a home. You need your things around you. You need your books, you need your candles, you need your plates, you need your things around you. And I think what ends up happening is when you go to a nursing home, if you don't have that hands on care that family can provide, you just don't last as long. I've seen such neglect in nursing homes. I'm not saying all of them, but literally, if my parents were hospitalized and needed to have a short stay in a rehab center, either my brothers, one of my two brothers, or my sister, we were in those places with them. We were very hands-on. So if my mom was hospitalized, it was like all of us were hospitalized. If my dad was hospitalized, all of us. Same for rehab, daily visits, hands-on, because I just don't believe strangers will take care of your people the way you take care of your people, your family. And that is so in my head. And I want to make sure that my parents, my aunt, they're taken care of in a way that there is dignity. I've gone into some nursing homes and they lacked dignity. And that to me is heartbreaking. So because that's in the back of my mind, that's really important to me. But then I also know that God has given me certain gifts and talents, certain work for my hands. And
Mm-hmm.
that work is around charity and humanitarian aid and advocacy. But charity begins at home. If I can't advocate on behalf of my own parents, my own family members, how can I go halfway around the world and advocate for people I don't know? So I have found a way to bridge the two. I
Mm-hmm.
can I can support my siblings in caring for the elders that we currently have care for, but I can also do projects in the rest of the world to sort of work to level the playing field between those who have and those who have not. And so because culturally nursing homes are not something we do in the Caribbean, because we make space for elders in their homes, taking care of them, whether they're bed bound, wheelchair bound, whether they're whatever their ailments are. There are hands in the family to support that because there is wisdom in those seniors. There is lifelong years in those seniors. There are beautiful memories and stories and
Mm-hmm.
laughter in those seniors. Like, there's like just if you approach it in a way that you're not angry, you're not bitter about this choice, you're not frustrated. I mean, there are certain emotions that will come,
Yeah.
but when you're living the most authentic life, you can do all things. You can figure out, sit quietly with yourself and God and say, okay, what is it you want me to do? And how do you want me to do it, God? Because you know, I have all of these things on my plate, and you have given something to me that I want to share with the world. How do I do that? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you have to show kindness to the closest people to you and then spread outward. So that's how I approach it. That's how I approach it.
I so appreciate that too, and also that it isn't one-sided, right? It is as much as we give, we also receive. Like my mother is a natural storyteller, so she's an extrovert, very different than her daughter, and so I know my origin story because of her. My father was an introvert like me. He didn't really talk. Talking was not his thing. What I know about him comes from my mother and a little bit of my father's family, but that I know where I come from. I know my origin story. I cannot tell you what a gift that is. So when I do get frustrated, because it ain't easy, this journey, I remember the gift that how she pours back into me. And as you say, she is my guru. She is my teacher. When I get a bit arrogant with myself and thinking that I'm progressed a particular way in the spiritual journey, my mother brings me home and reminds me, oh, there are little bits here and little bits there that you need to pay attention to, Missy. So come back down to earth. So this notion of it being a relationship, like any other relationship, right? Whatever relationship you engage in, there is a give and take, and there are many sides to a relationship. No relationship is all good all the time. No relationship is all bad at the same time. And I also want to say that in terms of nursing home, sometimes that is a decision that has to be made when the family has outstretched its ability to properly care for that family member. And as you say, being there all the time. When my grandmother was in a coma for 2 weeks, literally 24 hours a day, there was a family member in that room with her, on those nurses. They had our numbers. They were very well aware, the hospital staff, that you're not going to get away with anything. We're going to watch you like a hawk. And even though she was in a coma, she knew that we were taken care of, that we had not abandoned her in any way, shape, or form. We talk about this notion of belonging, right? And what does belonging mean? It means that you take that person in your family and you hold on tight to them as long as you possibly can. So what does it mean when we say, I love you? What does it mean when we talk about family? So I'm really appreciating the different ways that you share where this devotion and commitment to caretaking comes from, and what it has done and continues to do for you. And in continuing along those lines, up to this particular moment, what is the greatest gift that you've received from your mother, from your father, from your aunt, in terms of aging with dignity? That's a big word. This dignity. How do you define it? And what lessons have each of them, and even your grandmother, let's call her in, the matriarch, about dignity, about aging with dignity, about what it takes to age with dignity, about what dignity even means?
When I think of dignity, I think of, how are you treating people? How are you walking through the world? How do you care for yourself? How do you care for others? How do you care for a stranger? Because so much of my work is around helping strangers. I just have
Mm-hmm.
a natural pull for children
Yeah.
halfway around the world, some I will never meet, uh, uh, pregnant mothers, HIV positive women, halfway around the world that I may never meet. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm really committed to this idea of the other, and having equal access. I remember years ago, Arthur Caliandro, the famed minister of Marble Collegiate Church, he gave a sermon called Other. And he said he had gotten a Christmas card, and his Christmas card that year only had one word, other. And it was about how we should live these lives of service to other people. And that really resonated with me, because something in me was pulling me and calling me to do this work of advocacy and philanthropy in the world. And I knew that as a young person growing up in suburban Hillside, New Jersey, that I had opportunities that some of my relatives in Guyana, South America did not have. And I'm not sure I had all of the language growing up, and maybe not even until I was out of college and living in the world did I begin to see that there are really large discrepancies between those people who have and those who have not. And just because you lack resources does not mean you lack dignity. And some of my family in South America have the most amazing hearts and spirits and love for generosity that I've met anywhere. When I travel in the developing world, the global South, some of the most under-resourced communities are the most generous. And I think there is something dignified about that. There is something really critical about how you show up and how you treat people. And dignity is this way of, regardless of if I have the latest clothes or the latest shoes or the latest car, or I live in a certain kind of house, I still have value. I still have worth, and I still deserve a voice in the public square or a seat at the table. It is about equity. It is about access. Everyone deserves to have that. I think it is. I think dignity should be a human right, regardless of where you live or where you're born in the world. And because of that, that colors the way I do everything. That is the lens through which I see the world. That is the lens through which I do my work. So let me tell you this, and this is an example of dignity and when it is not shown. I got a ticket. I got a $50 ticket for going too fast in a school zone. Didn't see the sign. I'm moving with the flow of traffic, $50. I said, this is really crazy. The ticket just appeared at my house. I said, I don't recall this. I'm going to appeal it. And I go to appeal it. And the judge for this traffic court $50 ticket, it's a 3-panel judge. And one particular judge was so rude and so dismissive and so ugly and so biased and so disrespectful to me. I was like, what is going on here? It stopped like almost immediately. It stopped being about the $50 and the appeal of the $50. I addressed him. I addressed him because I said, sir, I find you disrespectful. I don't understand what's going on here. We're here for a $50 ticket. You've been rude from the moment I arrived. Let's talk about what's going on. And you could tell he was a little stunned by that. I said, there's no dignity in how you're talking to me. And so I came here to appeal a ticket. Now I don't even care about the ticket. I care about how inhumanely you're treating me. And so I wrote letters, and it became a whole other thing. But you can't, because this is how I show up every day in any circumstance. If I feel like there is disrespect, not only for myself, but for other people, you have to say something. You have to speak up in the face of injustice. And I just think that that's part of how I'm wired. So maybe it's part genetic. But those are the examples I saw. My mother has been a nurse for more than 50 years. She's retired now, but she was a nurse and midwife for more than 50 years. My grandmother raised 9 children to adulthood, and they're just amazing. And her husband died when she was about 45 years old. And then she lived another 50 years. So she had to summon those inner ancestors to help her, that inner strength to say, I can do this. I can raise 9 fairly small children to adulthood and be successful. And I can also make a brave decision to say, yes, I'm going to leave Guyana, South America, for an opportunity in the States and see what can happen. And because she made that choice, our family has really flourished in these decades since leaving South America and coming to the States. So dignity courses through my veins. And I just feel like it is such an important part of how I navigate my life, how I navigate my work. And so it's a through line. It's a through line to what I do. And so whether it's a judge who is inappropriate in his treatment of me, or it's a mother who can't feed her children in rural South Africa or Malawi or Zambia or Namibia, or whether it is school children in KwaZulu-Natal, or street children in Zambia. In the United States, very rarely do you see homeless children. But in Africa, you see homeless children, and it is heartbreaking and sobering at the same time. So the reality of the work to do in the world is real. There's an African proverb, many hands make light work. So everyone has something to do. You don't have to do global philanthropy and advocacy like you and I do, but you can do something. So do the something you are called to do. Wherever that is in your sphere of the world, do that thing. And even that, I believe is dignity. That I believe is cementing how you show up. Um, Yeah, I think that's what I would say because I'm so my mother's child. I'm so my
Yeah.
grandmother's grandchild.
Yes.
So I don't know that I show up ever on my own. I know the shoulders I stand upon. I know that. I know that.
Indeed. Yes, thank you so very much. So much richness in what you shared. And we also talked about philanthropy as a topic that is important to both of us. And philanthropy, I put philanthropist, you put humanitarian. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time, a little to delve deeper into the humanitarianism. And in it, I see the word humanity. And bringing us to the current circumstances of our world, how do you, as a humanitarian, as a person who doesn't look away, as a person who will say to a judge, wait a minute, this is rude, this is uncalled for. How do you stay grounded and committed? How do you allow your heart to be broken open or remain soft in the midst of all that is going on in the world? In the world of philanthropy and fundraising, there is this assumption of donor fatigue, humanitarian fatigue, philanthropist fatigue. I don't hear that in you. I've never heard that in you. And so I wonder if you might share what resources you shared a little bit. Your mother, your grandmother, your lineage is one resource that you hold on to that will not allow you to look away, that will not allow you to back away and think this is too much. What other resources do you hold on to, and what other resources would you recommend and share to those, whoever the benevolent universe God would have come to our conversation? What might you offer during these, let's say, most interesting, transformative times that we are witnessing?
Mm. That's such a very full and broad question. Thank you. Thank you. I self-care. I self-care because I can't help anybody if I'm tired. I can't help anybody if I'm worn out and angry or frustrated. So self-care has to be at the top of my list. So I walk with friends. You and I have walked before in your wonderful woods. I do a lot of walking. I do a lot of meditating. I do a lot of praying. I'm a journaler. I had a teacher in 11th grade who taught us about journaling, and I've never left the practice in all these years. So journaling is something that's very important to me. I journal every day to like just get the thoughts and feelings and ideas out of me and down on paper. And it just helps to diffuse things. It helps me not to be so much in my head about things and put it into perspective. I'm a person of deep faith. And so I read the Bible. I seek after God, because if I place God first, all other things will fall into place. And I believe that. And I've been seeking after God since I was a child. And those things help me. You need tools. I think if you're going to do this work of advocacy in a very difficult world at a very difficult time, you have to give yourself ways of really succeeding. And the way I do that is to self-care, to just really make sure that every day I'm starting fresh and new. If yesterday was a tough day, try to get 7, 8 hours sleep and start fresh tomorrow. God will shore you up. God will give you what you need. God will open the right doors and windows for things to happen for you. Um, and that's how I approach fresh. I ask God, what needs to happen in this moment? What would you have me do in this moment?
Mhm.
So yes, I can make informed decisions about all sorts of things, but I really do ask God. And I think self-caring and bringing God into the conversation is really powerful. That's a powerful tool right there.
Mhm.
I believe God and I together co-creating my life, we're a majority. We can battle anything. And that's how I show up. I never walk into a room on my own. I never walk into a room, especially if it's about advocating for disenfranchised communities, alone. I am prayed up. I am prayed up and ready for what God would have me say, what God would have me do. I mean, I've done this work for a long time and my heart is clearly in it, but I do not do this work alone. I do this work with the help of God, and God opens doors, and then I work with some of the most amazing people in the world. And I think that's how I keep it fresh. That's how I keep it in this moment. I don't know what next week holds. I don't know what next month holds. I go moment to moment. I have projects that I know I need to wrap up in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year, but the day to day of it, it's filled with ritual. It's filled with ritual because I can't just run on fumes and steam. It wouldn't be useful or helpful. And folks might think I'm crazy. So I'm like, so God and I together have crafted the career that I've had. And I think that's just that's how I do this work. And that's what keeps me energized and excited about it. It is a very difficult time in the world for humanitarian support. What is happening as so many agencies are dismantled, so much money has dried up. As I talk to nonprofits and different organizations doing this kind of work, I'm like, what are some other ways that you can raise dollars? What are some other ways that you can still do your work? Because the United States has chosen not to send you money doesn't mean that the need has evaporated. So what are some other ways, some more strategic ways for you to look at how you're going to do what you do? And you have to shift your thinking. You have to shift the thinking. The way you were doing things no longer works. And you can lament that for a bit, but at some point you have to say, okay, I still need to deliver services because there is still great need in the world. And I'm not, it's not that I'm not phased. I am phased. I see so much crumbling around me, but God is not phased. And because God is not phased, Marcia is okay. Marcy's okay as she does this work. And
Indeed.
I just try to be fresh, girly.
Indeed. I love it to be fresh and a day filled with ritual. That is so
Yes.
utterly important to have a pattern, a groove, a dance that you commit to, devotion of
Yeah.
some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Ritual is so utterly important. And in your humanitarian heart, um, what is your big, wildest dream for the world? What are you advocating for? Can you share the big vision? I'm hearkening the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I have a dream," and he goes on to share aspects of that dream where his children are walking hand in hand. Are there aspects of your big, audacious humanitarian dream that you can share in this moment? Like what would happen in the world that would would just resonate with what it is that drives you to do this work?
My big beautiful dream would be for everyone on the face of the earth to have access to clean water, access to healthy food, a roof over their heads, education for their children, gainful employment, just dignity. I think those things I just named are human rights. People shouldn't be struggling to have them. And we have those who have so much, those who have so little, and so many of us in between that. What about if everyone had access? It is not a pipe dream. It could easily become a reality. So it's about tapping into resources in different ways. Who are the people that you can talk to say, look, we need a better world. We need a better distribution of wealth and resources. And greed is not interesting. It just isn't. It's old and played out. So what are some other ways that we can use dollars to really impact? And so I love that you have foundations who are really helping with vaccines. It's crucial. Foundations really helping with getting clean water. It's crucial. These are healthcare should be a human right. And so my big, beautiful dream is about human rights for everyone. The basic things that we're accustomed to in the developing world, the basic things that we just expect, everyone gets that. Everyone gets that. And I don't think that's too much to ask for, because what I want for myself, I want for you. And if you happen to have a lot of something, that's great. But can you share some of it so that those who don't have can have some? And this isn't just me on a soapbox somewhere. This isn't me being naive. I've done this work for 30 years. I don't want to continue to have conversations about the poor. I just don't. I want to have a different conversation about how resources are distributed, how we do bottom up advocacy, where we go to the ground, we go to the people on the ground and say, what do you need? That's what they did in the civil rights movement. What do you need in XYZ country that is struggling? And then do that thing that they need. And you do it because it's the right thing to do. You're not trying to rape a country out of its resources. You're not trying to do that. You're not trying to take advantage by saying, let me help you build your infrastructure, and then it's going to take 100 years to repay that debt. Stop it. Stop it. What we've been doing has not been working. And it's as though humanitarian aid and advocacy has become like just this ongoing business, and I'm really tired of that. I don't want to have to do this kind of work for another 30 years. I shouldn't have to. There needs to be a better distribution of wealth and resources, and I think that's my big dream. And how do we sort of level the playing field? I'd like to really find ways of doing that. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated. Just get it done, because the needs are there. If a child is starving in Africa, that should impact you in New Jersey. You should feel socially responsible somehow for that. You don't have to go to Africa, but you should really be advocating in such a way that that child gets to eat, because your child gets to eat. And that's what I mean. It's like, it's important that we level the playing field. And when you look at a child anywhere in the world, they all have equal access and opportunity. There's enough. There's enough. And I want that to be a rallying call, that there's enough of everything. There's enough food. There's enough schooling. There's enough of everything. There's enough medicine, but because aid is taken away, there are now programs that are suffering, and places that cannot do their full work. So you have to find some other way around, some other workaround. You cannot lament for a decade, because while we're lamenting, people are dying. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did I answer your question?
You did, you did. I'm taking about what you said, that there is enough,
There is
and
enough.
there is more than enough. And one of my rituals every day is affirmations, and one of my affirmations is I am enough. I am enough.
Mhm.
My presence matters. And as I say it, I often say we are enough, because I'm there is a sense in me as I look at the world and observe our choices and our behavior, that that feels as if we do not believe we are enough. And if you don't believe that you're enough, then you're going to make choices that demonstrate that to the world. So when you have a lot and you're kind of hoarding, that's saying to the world, I feel I don't have enough. I don't feel secure. Doesn't really matter what's going on over there, but I don't feel secure. And I often turn to the story in the Bible, and this was, I believe, that Moses had. This was the part of the Exodus story, and manna comes from heaven, and God is like, people, don't hoard anything, because if you hoard manna, because you're insecure and you do not believe there'll be more coming tomorrow, that manna is going to spoil. And I think to myself, what kind of world would we have if that were the situation? If excess literally rotted and had no value
Mm,
whatsoever, right? If the playing field were significantly equal, there was no motivation for hoarding, because it was of no use. So this notion of doing the internal work of feeling that you are enough, so that you can then do that in the world, because I do believe in my heart it starts from within. It starts from within. It starts from your belief system.
yeah.
It comes from a place of fear. And when you're in a fear state, you're only thinking about your survival. You're not, or your tribe. You're not thinking about, quote unquote, the other. And also this, especially in indigenous cultures, my understanding is this notion that, and even from the realm of religion, this one body, right? This one body, that this notion of separation is an illusion. It's not true. And that there can't be, quote unquote, the other person starving over there and you're not starving. In a way, you are starving. It may not be physical, but perhaps emotionally. It's I don't think it's an accident that the more resourced financially a country is, the less happiness there tends to be. There isn't an affiliation, always an association between quote unquote wealth and happiness. Why
Yeah.
is that? That
Hmm.
says a lot as well too. So this notion of it's not that there isn't enough, it's a matter of redistribution, and it's a matter of believing that one is enough to begin
Yeah.
with.
Hmm.
That has to be like where the work begins, from that place of I say love. so so
I,
yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
I was just going to agree with you. I
Yeah,
think you're absolutely
yeah.
right, Gerlaine. I think you're absolutely right that you have to do the internal work so that you can see how am I showing up? What do I believe about myself? Because that's going to permeate to the
Mhm.
people around you and how you behave. So
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
we have
Mhm.
to do that internal work.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. We have to love ourselves, right? And then let that love kind of permeate out, because essentially in loving, quote unquote, oneself, one loves all, right? That's the message, right, that we got, those of us who come from a Christian background. The ultimate lesson is love thy neighbor, love thyself, and love thy, quote unquote, neighbor. And this topic of love, my friend, um, how do you define love? What is it? What does it mean to you? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What is love? We throw this big word around, and I don't know that we ever or we deep dive enough into what we mean. So when Marcia says to someone, "I love you," what does that mean, really?
Let me say this.
Mhm.
I believe that every day we have an opportunity to see God. Every day, I believe we have an opportunity to see God in a child, in a homeless person, in the bus driver, in the cranky person in the supermarket, in an animal. I believe we, if we're open, if we're aware, if we're like not overwhelmed by chatter, because the world is very busy. And so when we sit with ourselves and we're quiet and then we go out into the world, I believe we have the opportunity to have these exchanges with with people, and it's God. It's really God. And through that lens, this is how I'm looking at love. I think that yes, there's familial love, there's erotic sexual love, there's romance and all of that. There's that. I love that. There's also love for mankind, love for the stranger. Um, I'm a naturally friendly person. And I meet people just because I start talking to random strangers. I did that as a child. I've done it as an adult. Like, for example, last week I met the nicest man because I was emptying my cans last Friday, and he had on a sweatshirt from the school I went to. So I yell across the street, hey, I went to that school too. I don't know this man. I don't, and we end up having a lovely 15-minute conversation. He was walking his dog Bella, and it was lovely. Maybe we'll be friends. But I think every day you have the opportunity to meet people, to hear a story, to share something. I've had strangers tell me the most intimate things. I was on a bus once, and this young woman had just had a procedure that she felt was the best thing for her to do. But she was saddened about it. And she needed to tell someone that she may never see again, someone who would not know her or judge her. And maybe I have a kind face. And so we rode a Q train in the city while she told me her story. And so I'm always amazed when I have these type of exchanges with strangers, because I believe God is in the midst of all of that. So if that is the way you show up each day, I think there's the opportunity for light and for love and for connection. And it comes in so many different ways. And I find it very, very joyous. And when I think of love, I think of connecting with another human being. There are different ways of connecting with that human being. Maybe it's just for a moment. Maybe it lasts a little longer and a little longer. I used to be a pre-kindergarten teacher in another life, and I would tell the kids, okay, it's time for a nap. You don't have to take a long nap. You just need to take a nap like this size. But if you need to take it a little longer, you can. It's not doesn't have to be this long, but like and it and so I find myself using that. But I think love will find you if you exude that. If you let the world beat you up and you're broken down, you may miss it. Like, opportunities for connection and love go by you all the time because we're not listening, we're not open, we're not aware. We might not have done the work to sort of peel away all the stuff weighing us down. And I think that weight, it could be a physical weight, but it's like an emotional weight, it's a spiritual weight, it's a mental weight, and we use different crutches instead of facing it. So I think a lot of it is, when I think of love, do you love yourself? Do you love who you are, who you've grown into? Do you give yourself grace? Do you forgive yourself if you've made mistakes? said the wrong thing, did the wrong thing. How do you treat yourself? And that colors how you treat other people. But if you don't believe you deserve love, then you may never find it. You have to believe you deserve it, right?
Yeah.
And so we are all children of the Most High God. And so that makes us royalty. But you have to believe that. You have to believe you can accomplish anything you set your mind to because it's you and God creating. And that's whatever you're calling God. God is that energy that is larger than yourself. I, I'm I am from the Christian tradition, but there are many paths to God, and I believe that. And you find God how you find God. God is not boxed in. We may try to do that, but God will not be boxed in. And I think love is open to us at every moment, and different types of love. At the top of our conversation, I was talking about having some contract work done in my home, and I love the contractors. They were so friendly. It was a father and son team. And when they left, they said, Marcia, we just love working with you. And I mean, yes, I had to pay them, but the energy was really beautiful. And I think that's the kind of energy we can have as we go through the world. Love is accessible. It's there for us.
Mm-hmm.
We could love our coworkers. We can love the folks we go to church with. We can love our neighbors as ourselves, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't know what that is. Yeah, we can love our neighbors as ourselves, and I just believe that there is opportunity at every turn to find love and to be love and to exude love, and that's just sort of how I how I, what I that's what I think. That's what I think about love. That's what I.
Thank you. So much richness there, and really believing that you deserve love, and that
Yeah.
love is about connection. And
Yeah.
one thing that we've talked about that comes to the fore to bring to this conversation, especially our commitment to be of service. And so you mentioned romantic erotic love, and that's one love. And so how do you reconcile that romantic erotic love with this love for humanity that drives um, your commitment to humanitarianism, your commitment to service? I struggle with that at times, feeling that perhaps the romantic erotic love might be a bit fluffy, and, and that it might take me away from if I allow it to. But if I suppose if I had to choose, um, it would be the humanitarian love. And yet I'm very aware that there are still inner work to do in terms of perhaps placing them both as equally important. So I
Mhm.
welcome, if you're open to it, your thoughts on romantic erotic love and humanitarian love.
Aha. Okay, so I think we're all multi-layered people. Human beings are complicated creatures. I believe we can compartmentalize our lives and still get a lot of things done. The humanitarian work is so important to me. It is in my DNA. It is what I will do until I am 95 years old, and hopefully still have teeth. you know, it's just the work that I will do.
Yeah.
I am open to romantic love. I am open to see what God has for me. And I think the first step to that is acknowledgement. It is awareness. It is like, okay, am I closed off? Have I been hiding behind my work, or am I really open? And I feel I am open to love. I've had some really lovely relationships over my life, and I thought I would have been married by this age, but I'm not. And I had to reconcile that. I was like, Lord, I'm not married. why am I not married? And why don't I have children of my own? And what I believe God has said to me was, Marcia, because of the work you've done, there are thousands of school children that are being educated. There are thousands of school children that are being fed, tens of thousands. And so your work over the decades, that is what I've called you to do. And so maybe you'll get married, maybe you won't. But I had to make peace with all of that. When I was in my late 30s, my early 30s to mid 30s, my best friend got married. And that was the first time I thought about marriage for myself. I was like, oh, Yolanda's getting married. I should probably think about getting married too, because we've been friends since we were like in grade school. I had not thought about marriage before 35. And then I was like, oh, it just didn't seem like it was in the cards. And I was focused on my work. I had, I just, that was the work. And I was committed to the work. And I thought, okay, I'll meet someone. We'll have one or two kids. It'll happen. And then it didn't. And I think there was a lot of frustration throughout my 40s about what that could look like. And then something shifted just recently. When I say recently, I'd say within the last 2 years, 3 years, where I was like, you know what? I really do have peace about all of it. If I'm meant to have a child, I'll adopt a baby. It'll just happen serendipitously. If I'm meant to get married, I'll get married. But the work that I've done is to be open to the possibilities. I don't know what this tall, dark, handsome stranger is going to look like. I don't. Maybe he won't be tall. Maybe he won't be dark. I don't know. But I think for me, it was about, are you open? And for a long time, I wasn't open. I wanted to focus on advocacy. I wanted to focus on my work. I wanted to make sure my parents were well cared for. I needed to navigate how I was going to juggle these schedules. And now that I'm putting all of that stuff into place, and there's a peace about it. And so now I'm like, maybe there is room for a little romance. Maybe there is room for this person to come into my life, and I'll make space. But I still need to be all of who I am. And the older you get, maybe you get set in your ways, and I sort of like my life. And so I have to really think through, what would someone coming in to my life, what would that mean? What would that mean? And I'll cross all of those bridges as I come to it. But I believe the first thing I needed to do was to be ready for something new, to really have done the internal work, to be open to like, oh, maybe there is room for romantic love here. Maybe there is a relationship that you can carve in the midst of all these other moving pieces. Who knows? Maybe there's a marriage that can happen. And I'm good with that. And I'm also good with if it doesn't happen, because I've created this life that I'm happy with. And I can say that authentically and easily. I am doing work that I love doing. I'm going places that I want to go. And I have a great family structure in place. It's not easy. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. It's not easy. But I've created this life that makes sense to me. And so someone coming in needs to understand the dynamics of what I have. And there'll be room for, some adjustments, but I'm not trying to shrink or overshadow anything. And I think I've got real peace about that. And so whatever happens, love. We'll see. We'll see.
Indeed. We will see.
We will see. But if there's a wedding right after my parents are invited, you're invited.
Thank you. The same with me. I mean, I agree completely. We have curated a life, and you brought up aging and maturation and the way I see it, becoming more of myself, remembering who I truly am and walking in the world
Yeah.
in that way has been the gift of progressing in years, watching my body change. And it's like, what is this? What's going on here? And having, and not having, but choosing to respect and look at everything through the lens of awe of what a gift to get to this particular age, and wonderment with my body and my life. And so what does aging and maturation mean to you, especially within the context of, let's just say, the United States, the Western world, and likely perhaps all of the world, where aging is perceived as something to do battle with, as something to put aside, push it away, hide it, no wrinkles to be seen, no gray hairs to be seen, eternal youth. How do you approach the maturation process, the progression of the years in this context of aging as something undesirable, if you will?
That is such an important question. I think it's a really important question. Thank you for asking it, Gurlane. So, I've had this lengthy modeling career. And so I started modeling in my early 20s, and very youth oriented, very uh, super duper skinny uh, industry where models were like size 0 and 2, and I remember going to Paris as a size 8 thinking I was very cute, and I got down to a size 6 and my agents were like, still, you've got to get smaller, your hips. I was like, these are black girl hips. And so I think early on in my modeling career, there was this idea that you had to look a certain way and be a certain way. And I'm so grateful that within those first 2 or 3 years, I learned very quickly, I'm a black girl, I like food, and there has to be some other place for me in this industry.
Mhm.
And so after 3 years modeling in Paris, which were really difficult years because I was just not super duper skinny for runway, and so I did some editorial work, but it wasn't the best thing for me. So I came back to the States, and I discovered commercial print modeling, and that was the caveat for me, and I've done that for 30 years. And commercial print modeling is real people advertising, where you play doctors and you play moms, you play just real people. And that was great because I could eat food and be a size 6 or 8 and not really worry about it. And then, so that was my life for a long time. And it was because of the fashion that I got into advocacy and philanthropy and all of this, because I was living in Paris and I saw that as a Black American, or a Black Guyanese, but they saw me as an American, that I was treated differently than the Black Africans in Paris. And I didn't quite understand why. So I would go to some of the Black areas in Paris to really understand, okay, what is culturally happening here? And I saw the divide. I saw the divide on the metro in Paris and what was going on there. And I was like, okay. And that really fueled some of like, okay, everybody doesn't have the same access. And that started because I'm in my early 20s, just out of college, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do in the world. And so my modeling career was always alongside my advocacy. So if I've done something for 30 years, it's really both things I've done for 30 years. So now I'm more doing TV commercials and things like that, but with the same energy that I would do a TV commercial, I would still approach philanthropy because the TV work and the commercial stuff really helped me fund my life so that I can go to South Africa for, let's say, 6 weeks and do projects. And so, when you come out of a fashion background and then you become an aging model and actor, there's so many eyes on you, and they're like, oh, okay, is that a wrinkle I see? Or I passed the mirror and I was like, whose butt is that? And I was like, that belly cannot belong to me. That belly cannot be mine. And so I find it, I make light of it, but I acknowledge that my body is changing. I acknowledge that I'm not this felt 20, 30, 40-year-old anymore. I'm a little more Rubenesque, let's just say. But it's all good. I'm good with it because I can look at myself naked and thank God. I can stand before a full length mirror and look at all of what some people may perceive as imperfections and say, I love Marcia, and I could really mean that. I can say to myself, okay, girl, I am pinching like 1.5, 2 inches over here. You can push back from the table. You can do that. But I know when I'm heavy and I need to drop a few pounds. I don't need other folk to tell me that. I know. So I just sort of try to be as healthy as possible. I try to watch what I'm eating. I love cookies. I love cakes. I love cappuccinos and lattes. I love all that stuff. And so I try to be moderate when I see that, okay, the metabolism is not what it used to be, but I'm also a bit vain. So I'm like, girl, you might have to wear black for the next several years until you get it together. So I make light, but I'm also grateful that I get to age. And when I think of the wrinkles that are coming, or when I think of the few extra pounds, I think of my grandmother who was stunningly beautiful until she died. Until the day she died, she was still beautiful because all those wrinkles on her face were signs that I have lived a life. I've had these children. I've brought these children into this world. I have all these great stories to tell. I have really just maintained legacy. So that's what you see in my face. That's what my grandmother taught me. I look at my mother, who is now almost 88 years old. If God spares life in November, she'll be 88 years old. And her skin is beautiful, and her life, she has lived so much, and you see that in her face. Has she struggled? Of course she has. But I just think that aging is just part of the process. You get to do it, and it's great. It's I'm so grateful. I'm so filled with this gratitude that I get to age because I have friends who didn't make it to this age. I do. I have friends who didn't make it, and so I am learning to embrace the changes that are happening as graceful as possible. And I'm just trying to be my best self at this stage in my life. And so, okay, we're not a size 8 anymore, but can we keep it at a 10? you know, can we do that?
Yeah.
Can we get to yoga twice a week, and can you get your 10,000 steps in at least 4 days a week? Can you take a class? Can you take a something? What can you do? And just giving myself grace when I need it, but also remembering that my body is a temple, and I cannot continue to, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes I use food as an emotional crutch. Like, oh, if I'm sad about something, let me eat a cookie. No, like that might have worked in your 20s or 30s. It's not cute now. It's not cute now because you're just going to get chubbier and chubbier. So stop it. Like just really being aware, I think, is where I'm at. Just trying to know that how I used to eat, where I could eat late at night, have a big meal and go to bed and just still be as felt as anything, that no longer works. That no longer works when the metabolism slows down. So just trying to embrace this season that I'm in and see the beauty in this season and be good with it. Be good with it. I'm not trying to be who I was 30 years ago because I'm not, right? So how do I embrace this age, and what is the wisdom that I come with now? What are the lessons I've learned? What do I carry with me? What have I let go of that was an albatross around my neck? All of that. And when you have that kind of lightness, when you do that kind of daily work, you're not fazed by a few wrinkles. You're not fazed by a few extra pounds. You're not fazed by whether someone loves you enough to marry you. It doesn't stop who I am. It doesn't stop spirit. It doesn't stop God from doing what God will do with you. Right. And that's what life has taught me. I don't walk around saying I don't need anybody. That's not it. But I will survive. And I have survived.
Mhm.
And but I've done more than survive. I feel like I'm living this life that I'm enjoying and I'm thriving. I know it's cliche, but just create the life you want with the people you want. Let it look the way you want it to look. If you know that, you're going through menopause or you gained a lot of weight, get it off. What do you need to do to lose the weight? Do you need to see a nutritionist? Do you need to join a gym? Do you need to start walking with your neighbor? Like, just really give yourself grace and figure out what are some steps I can take to move this forward. And I think that's my attitude for everything, Gerlene. That's my attitude for everything. So I'll age as gracefully as I can, releasing outfits that no longer suit me or fit, and
Indeed.
just embrace 60, 70, 80, 90. I pray I live to be as old as my grandmother, and just feeling like I deserve to be here, and there is work for my hands. There is work for my hands. Yeah.
For my hands. I just love that. You have given us so much, Marcy. I feel like so many uh, seeds were planted, which will reap beautiful, sweet flowers and ultimately fruit for me. And again, whomever God, the benevolent universe, brings to this conversation. Life is mysterious in that way. And so as we close this chapter, because I feel like there'll be other chapters, is there like a message in a bottle? Is there something in your heart, something that is bubbling up in the moment that you would like to place in that bottle? And we will put that bottle into the sea for whoever it needs to go to. What message would you put in that bottle?
I think the message would be something we touched on about we are enough. We are enough, how we show up. Um, there is an exercise I started doing almost 30 years ago. Um, and I call it the Grateful 100. And it's just very stream of consciousness, things you're grateful for. And I developed this exercise because there were times in my life where I was frustrated with what was going on with my life. I felt stuck and stagnant, and I was like, "What is this?" I was upset or angry with God, but God can take our anger. And I decided, Marcy, I'm tired of hearing you complain about what's not working. What is working? And I sat down and I said, I am grateful for. And this was an exercise to really help me shift my consciousness about how I was looking at my life at the time. Jump ahead 30 years, I do that exercise fairly often because it helps me to stay in this attitude of gratitude. So if there's something I'm putting in a bottle, is this idea that life is amazing, and find that thing for yourself that you need to find for yourself that allows you to be your best self. And your best unique self is enough. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't try to be anybody else except who you are, the best version of who you are. And when you do that, you're not competing with anyone, you're not trying to be anyone. And that is coming from someone who has been in fashion, went to auditions with some of the most beautiful women in the world, and still felt like, oh, okay, I'm holding my own, here. It's just what it is. I'm here. And I think because I learned very early on that I am enough. How I show up is enough. God is in me. God is helping me navigate everything I need to navigate. And so that's enough. And if I can do that, I can do anything. And so know that you're enough and you can do beautiful, miraculous things and allow that. Don't be afraid. Trust God and just go forward. Take those steps. 2 steps, 3 steps, maybe you got 1 or 2 back, but keep moving forward. And ultimately, I think you reap some amazing results. You see some really beautiful things. You see bounty, and you experience love, and you define what that is. You give to others, you're of service, you're doing important things with your hands in your corner of the world, and that's enough, because you're enough. And take that and hold it. And whenever you feel doubtful, remind yourself, I am enough. And then you write down, I am grateful for, and very stream of consciousness, write all the wonderful things you're grateful for. And that begins to create a paradigm shift in your life. I believe that, because it did for me. And if it happened for me, I think it can happen for anyone. And so that's what I would put in a bottle, Gurlene. That's what I put in a bottle, and tell folks to digest that. Yeah.
What a lucky soul or souls who receive that bottle. What bounty is in there. Thank you so much for your gift of time.
Thank you.
For the treasures that you bestowed upon us, for your passion, for your love of the world, for your love of humanity, for your commitment to ensuring that everyone has enough,
Yeah.
that everyone is enough, and hence we have enough. So thank you, my friend.
This was wonderful. This is really wonderful. It was so great talking to you. It's always great talking to you. We have such insightful times together, and I thank God for you. I think you are a blessing. You're a blessing to the world and to the people around you, and you bring this beautiful light. And I'm just so grateful to know you. Gurlene, breathe up, here.
Thank you, my friend, and the same with you. You have played such a significant role in my journey. Thank you for your accompaniment and for your wisdom and for your continued support. You are fabulous and magnificent, Marcia Fingal, humanitarian advocate.
Okay.
Much love, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. I'll see you next time.
Well, stay put, Marcia.
Okay.
I'm gonna end the recording.